Hey, this is Alan Powell from Anthem Lights. You're listening to Dispatch Radio.
Well, the Perfect Wave, folks, they've got a nice pickup with Tug. You can see a local screening of that here and screening in your local town if you're listening to this online, not our live broadcast. And we have an actress with us now to talk about her role in the film and Ian McCormick's amazing testimony. Rachel Haddix. How are you, Rachel?
Doing well, thanks.
What a great story. And I know your role as Annabelle, you're kind of Ian's love interest in the film. Tell everybody a little bit about what your initial impression was when you read the script and you kind of heard about the film.
You know, our job as actors and actresses is just to tell stories. You know, we get brought onto these projects and really are doing our job to make an authentic representation of who these characters are. And any opportunity where we get presented with something new or something that's challenging or stretching us, it is always really affirming and really exciting because it's what we love, and it's just, I guess, in the nature of being an actor, we want to tell great stories. So the thing that drew me to it originally was that there was this, you know, very accurate representation of what was happening or what had happened to Ian McCormick, a real true story, and this character, Annabelle, who encountered him along his journey. So it was really special to imagine getting to tell that story by portraying her and being, you know, taking kind of outside of my box or outside of the typical realm that I've stayed in my acting career.
Well, I think it's a fantastic role for you, and it's a great testimony of a story that I think the faith-based community needs to see. And, you know, folks, it's a beautifully shot surfing film. Were you able to go on many of the locations? Where were you able to travel and get to?
I traveled everywhere.
That had to be a great experience.
I did. Trevor Brown was our director of photography, and he knows how to photograph surfing. He made that movie look so beautiful, and you know, it's meant to be seen on the big screen. It's meant to put you in the ocean with Ian and the other surfers, and I think he did a great job. The lighting, the time of the day. We were blessed to have really beautiful weather. We got a lot of great surfing shots. We traveled to Indonesia. We traveled almost the entire country of South Africa to get the best surfing shots we could. And I tagged along. I love watching, you know, units work, and I love the machine of filmmaking. You know, it's a whole lot of different parts all working together for one machine. And I've definitely documented my journey there. I took my camera, photographed a whole lot behind the scenes, and I think that helped me kind of have a reason to come too. You know, like I'm not in all of these scenes, but I got to be behind the camera and watch Bruce work and watch Trevor work and watch Scott Eastwood work, and that was very, very enjoyable. I very much took away something deeper because I was there for that.
We're going to have to bribe Rachel to get some of those behind-the-scenes photos is what I think. So.
Oh, I've logged the whole time. They're on my website.
All right. We'll have to check that out. And then
RachelHendrix.com, I think, is where they are.
All right. Well, we're going to send some folks over there and check that out. Now, you mentioned Scott, and obviously folks know Scott Eastwood's father obviously is just a famous icon and that kind of thing. And Scott's done some different work, working with his dad even on Gran Torino. So how was it working with Scott, and how was Scott's approach? And I say that comparing it to maybe other actors that you've worked with.
Scott really, he's making an effort to define himself as an individual. You know, he's gifted. He looks just like his dad. He's been introduced into this industry. You know, later in life, he had to make a choice: do I want to be a professional surfer, or do I want to be an actor? And he chose the acting route, which I think was wise. But with a name like Eastwood and a legacy that comes from a father who's one of the most famous actors. We all know who he is. We all can say, yes, I know who Clint Eastwood is. Or everybody can say they've seen some of his work. Scott would audition for these parts for his dad's films, and his dad even said to him, you know, if you're not good, I'm not going to put you in my movie. So he did The Trouble with the Curve with his dad. He had all these small parts. And when they approached him to do The Perfect Wave, they just felt very strongly that he was the right fit to portray Ian. And we're so thrilled that he said yes, because I think he did a great job. And he approached it with open ears and open eyes and open heart to just being a real experience that did happen to Ian McCormick. And he was able to go there and I think tell that story accurately and with passion and with heart. So working with him was a treat, and I enjoyed, getting to know who he was. Aside from his legacy as Clint Eastwood's son, he's very much an intelligent, hardworking actor who I think is going to go very far.
I want to wrap up Perfect Wave talk here with Ian McCormick himself. Did you get a chance to actually meet Ian or spend any time with him?
I did, actually. It was wonderful. He came down just for one quick day. So we didn't get a whole lot of heart-to-heart, but I did meet him and listen to his testimony live at a small church close to Cape Town, and that was very, very special. He prayed over all of us and, came and sent us off into the first day of filmmaking. So it was really great to have him around, even in a quick trip that he could, come and be with us for that day.
Is it encouraging for your own personal faith when you have someone who is just so intimately and graphically describing his afterlife experience, the face of Jesus, the voice of Jesus? He's so intricately describing his experience. I mean, again, I try to encourage people. Perfect Wave may be set more in like a modern time. They got tablets and stuff, but this happened over 30 years ago, folks. So there's not a lot of motivation for Ian to sort of stick to a story unless he's completely clinically insane. It's like, so if he's not clinically insane, why continue with the story, right? So to meet someone who so intricately describes it, how is that affecting you personally in your personal faith?
I like how you say that about, stories going and living on because they're true. We all have fairy tales we know and stories we're told as children that change and evolve over time from the mouths that speak them and the generations that pass. But Ian, this story it's not received well. It's funny. It's like it's polarized. It's received well or it's received horribly. I think non-believers are very interested in hearing this because, the ultimate question of the afterlife and what that looks like, it can be very terrifying. And I think it's just as mysterious as it is terrifying. So here we are tapping into this mystery of what is the afterlife. What does that look like? What is heaven? What is hell? Are these places? Are these things? Are these states of being? For me to hear that from him, I grew up in a culture. I grew up in a home where we believed in miracles. We experienced them. We saw supernatural things happening. It was common. It was my life as a child and as a teenager. So I never struggled with believing that our God can do and does continue to do miraculous things. So the encounter I've had a lot with people, the experience I've had, has been that a lot of folks don't really know about that.
Right.
They don't really know about miracles, and they're like, well, Jesus did healings and he did all these miracles and he passed the giftings on. But they died with him. Well, this is not scriptural. In the scriptures, it talks about us doing these things in his name, even greater than he did while he was alive.
Amen, absolutely.
So if we want to be open to listening to people's stories and choosing in our own hearts and discerning what we believe is truth and what is not. And that's an individual decision. So I love that his story can resonate all across the board with people who are interested in the mystery and the wonder of what it would look like to die and come back to life.
We're talking with Rachel Haddix about The Perfect Wave. You're going to see it land in theaters in a very short screening. We're going to make sure you link to that before it drops on DVD in September. You want to catch that. And again, as I described my review, it's a beautifully shot film. It's a surfer film. It may not be for everyone, but you don't want to miss the ending of this. This has such a powerful ending. Scott ramps up his acting, the director, the lighting, everything presents so many questions. And then at the end credits, like certain other faith-based films have done, you get the real-life Ian McCormick telling you his testimony again directly, folks, and it is just, it starts to shake you. And if nothing else, even if you're a non-believer, you can go, wow, that's an interesting conversational piece, and that's what I hope you can come away with. Now, most of you know Rachel, as we talked about it on this show. We promoted it pretty heavily. A life-changing film for my wife's youth group, by the way. She teaches the teen girls, and you were Hannah in October Baby. And do you still have people coming up to you, giving you that kind of praise on that film? Because it's just such a great, powerful story on a topic that is, again, very polarizing.
You think it's polarizing? Tell me what you mean by that.
Because the abortion topic is so polarizing, you have people just so split. It literally is a driver of how people will vote. It is literally a driver. They'll ignore every aspect of values, but if this person is pro-life or pro-choice, that's how they'll vote. I mean, that's a very powerful thing in our world that gets away from the argument of how sacred is life. And the film really gets in your face about how sacred is life. And I think that's what I love about the film.
See, I think it's a film that doesn't get in your face at all.
Oh, okay.
I think it's one of those stories that is a story that shows a lot of the gray matter between what you would consider polarizing viewpoints. That life is not black and white, that these decisions and these things that we're faced with are never black and white. It is not just a life and death issue here. There are so many things to consider. And when you get into the mud and the pain and the repercussions of making a decision like that, you're going to hit people in places that will press the buttons of defense. You know, I feel like when I first started getting approached with people about, you know, their impact with the film, or the film had such an impact on their lives, I was not registering really what they were saying. You know, like, you know, I was born, for example, they would say things like, I was born and my mother put me up for adoption, and I found out that she wanted to have an abortion. And this, my whole life, I've dealt with this feeling of rejection, or I've never felt like I belonged anywhere, and my identity's been so messed up. And they'll go really, really deep. There's no in between. It's never, oh, great movie, we really liked it, have a happy life. It's like they're either going to go really, really deep and say why this film touched them so much, or they generally don't say anything at all, because I think they're left thinking a lot and not really able to vocabularize what they're feeling. And that's what was happening to me. I couldn't put into words what it was like to encounter all these people who are coming to me with these stories and these life-changing stories, and I'm just like, hey, they hired me to play a part. I'm an actor for hire, but they're looking at me and they're seeing me actually as Hannah, as if I've lived out this reality.
Right.
And I think that's so interesting. And that taught me a lot about how cultures perceive film, how we connect with film. It's like when Rose and Jack are on the door in the ocean and it's freezing, and Jack dies. Okay, sorry to be rude that for anybody who hasn't seen Titanic yet. But when Jack dies, like, you die with him. A part of you dies with him. And, like, every 12-year-old girl is like, oh, I'm brokenhearted because Jack didn't make it. And you're like, you feel that loss. And with October Baby, they felt the journey, I think, with Hannah, which was so over my head and so much bigger than anything I'd ever expected or prepared for. So it's pretty crazy, the kind of things that you go through when you've walked through that process and you've been a part of telling that sort of story.
You know, it's funny, especially now that we're so neat, you know, the website is a Google News website, and we have the responsibility of trying to at least generate the news. And then, of course, branching out into, you know, writing a book and doing radio. It's interesting how the different medias affect different people. And you touched on film, where I've always said the power of film is people that don't dive into print. They're not students at all anymore, whether it's through time or just their nature, that film becomes their educational process. And you have people very delusional. People that believe we're in the Matrix. I mean, you have people that become very literal with a film presentation. And for something like October Baby to sort of kind of rock their world a little bit, where people go through this, where people go through these difficult decisions, I think that's what I meant by polarizing, was that topic of, you're either against abortion or you're not, becomes a lot more complicated when you actually start to get face to face with adoption, face to face with a clinic, face to face with people. And that was what I think. And to me, the legacy of this film is going to carry with you for a long, long time, in my opinion, because it was so unique and powerful.
Yes, I think it was unique. I think it's the first of its kind. I don't know many films or any at all that are about a story of an abortion survivor. I mean, people don't even know what that means. They go, abortion survivor, what's that? And it asks a lot of questions, and I think it's worth looking into if you're not familiar with that world.
And the time of this, too, folks, if you remember when we were covering the story, you remember we had the horrific cases that were coming out of Philadelphia. That's the Kermit Gosnell cases and the House of Horrors, where you have people that were really learning for the first time that they were allowing babies to be born alive and then dealing with them. So you had a lot of things that were happening at the same time this film was dropping that really kind of painted a whole picture that was very challenging for a lot of the audience members. So, again, if you haven't seen October Baby, you have got to see the film, folks. I want to get, because I know I don't want to keep Rachel too long, but I want to get to two of her upcoming projects briefly. I'm a huge John Irwin fan. I know he co-wrote Coffee Shop, and he's working with director David Allen Johnson on it. And can you give us a little bit of insight of what we're going to expect with Coffee Shop? Because, I mean, again, I'm a John Irwin guy. Mom's Night Out was just a wonderful experience for us.
Yes, it was. John is talented man. He can write for women in a way that I've never seen a man write for women besides Nicholas Sparks. So I commend him for that. He knows how to resonate with women audiences. And I think Coffee Shop's fun. It's a romantic kind of triangle film about called a young woman who had over her from her mother and really in love. Beautiful, charming, charismatic, passionate girl who just can't get a break. And I play her sister, Becky. The lead actress in the film is Laura Van Voort. She plays Donovan, and she was in Smallville. She was in ABC's V. She's in her own TV show now on Sci-Fi called Bitten. Very, very seasoned actress, super sweet, and just have on screen. Can't take her. And a lot of to be in an ensemble cast of, the baristas and the love triangles and the people that come in and out of the coffee shop. We wanted there to be a speed and a pacing to it different than October Baby and different than John and Andy's work in the past. So Dave stepped in, our director, Dave Allen Johnson, who's been in the industry for 30 years or more, maybe more, stepped in and really gave us a new to work with for former lines and what we're trying to convey with our audience. So the movie is really fun. It's fast-paced. Beautiful cinematography shot by Chris Kimlin, our director for the directography of film. He worked closely with John and Andy Irwin their whole career, and he's just very talented. He knows how to make this movie look beautiful and get interesting shots. So we're doing a theatrical release this weekend in Birmingham, Friday and Saturday nights. We're doing 2 premieres, and we are, inviting people to come and watch the film on the 17th on the network.
Fantastic. Can't wait. And 77 Chances. You got a little insight on that at all? You're able to tell us anything?
Oh, I'm a fan of, and I see a lot of time on it. It's such a charming movie with a sweet, sweet message, and it was a lot of fun to make. I have no idea what the future of that movie looks like. I'm pretty sure they're planning for a release in the end of the fall. You might know more than me about that. But it stars Andrew Cheney and myself, written and directed by Tracy Trost. And it is a wonderful movie about a young man who wakes up and has an ordinary day, goes to sleep and wakes up the same day the next day. So he is constantly trying to change the outcome of the day
let me interject there. It's Groundhog Day, but with some tragedy that's based into that. So he's trying to change that so we won't have to face that tragedy. But sadly, that's not how life works, right?
Right, that's not how life works. Yeah, so he's trying to omit the tragedy from the day in all the wrong ways, and ultimately finds something deep inside himself that has to really let some things go before he can move forward. And it's so much fun. There's a pie in my face at some point in the movie.
Oh, you spoiled it for us. We didn't want to know who won the contest, but all right, I guess now we know.
We'll see. You'll see.
All right. Well, RachelHaddix.com. You can find out a lot more information about her. See some great photos that she took during the Perfect Wave production. That, of course, drops very, very soon, folks. Again, we've talked about going to tug.com. Get yourself some tickets. We also will preview 77 Chances, coffee shops, and different projects that are coming up. Are you on Twitter and Facebook and all that as well, Rachel? It's almost like a must. But what's your handle on Twitter?
I know they make us do this now. I'd much rather not be on social media because I'm such a private person, but I've been forcing myself to get out there and interact with the fans, and I've enjoyed it. So I am changing my nature in that regard. But my Twitter is Rachel Drix, just Hendrix without the H-E-N, Rachel Drix. And as well, you can find me. I have a fan page on Facebook where I'm pretty active about posting upcoming projects and a lot of rando things. So find me there and connect with me. Let me know what you're thinking about the projects and do my best to respond.
Fantastic. We will definitely do that. Rachel Haddix, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Take care.